The TimeWaver system is a medical system consisting of hardware and software. It is being used by more than 1,000 medical doctors, naturopaths and other therapists worldwide. The goal of TimeWaver is to analyze possible backgrounds and correlations of disorders in the information field and to balance them with new informational patterns. If we think about why someone gets sick, or why someone remains sick even after 10 years, why certain issues don't improve, then there is no use to just look at the symptoms. This is the power of the TimeWaver system.
TimeWaver presents a holistic picture of the patient to the therapist through the informational field as it looks on all levels of life, the symptomatic, physiological, the biochemical level, as well as the energetic and informational level, all the way up to the psychological, systemic and karmic level.
I can scan specific information from the information field, and we get hints whether an organ is under or over-regulated. If it is under-regulated, it has a chaos tendency, and if it is over-regulated, it has a tendency to be inflexible.
I observe the reaction of my patients. They find themselves in the analysis, all these spontaneous reactions with tears, with laughter. They were the proof for me. Moreover, TimeWaver reveals certain influential factors to the living environment, to family and job, because these levels are just as important for health.
And as a therapy, I can place new information into the information field.
I'm very sensitive and I can perceive these subtle influences, and I could feel already during a session how the TimeWaver would influence my energetic field. This was so convincing to me. I have a system that allows me to be as close as possible to a person.
Behind this information field technology, we find the revolutionary discoveries from quantum physics, which showed that mind and matter would interact. All these great quantum physicists, Erwin Schrödinger, Niels Bohr, Wolfgang Pauli, up to Carl Friedrich von Weizsäcker, were convinced that the mind and the consciousness can have a direct influence on matter. It is especially the famous experiments of Princeton professor Robert Jahn with Brenda Dunn and Roger Nelson that have shown that the mind, the consciousness, really interacts with matter. 𝗪𝗛𝗘𝗏, one of the pioneers of acupuncture, has once called it the web without a weaver. This is somewhat like the information field. It is not only connected to psychology and C.G. Jung, but also when we listen to biologist 𝗪𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗬. He has done research on primates. This information field is not limited to humans. He calls it morphogenetic field, and there is at least 20 different terms for what we call the information field. But we find out more and more, which is the experience also of our great-great-great ancestors, that we are integrated in something much bigger, in a global information field, or global consciousness, as Jung calls it. So there must be something that connects us on the energetic and informational level. And everyone picks out that information that is needed to shape one's life as an individual. The TimeWaver systems are fully developed and assembled in Germany and are milled from a massive aluminum block to prevent electrical and magnetic disturbances. In this way, the information field between the therapist and the patient shall not be influenced. The technology for information field analysis consists of two components. The first method uses a light quantum resonator, in which a laser shoots photon packages on a semi-transparent mirror angled in 45 degrees. In case the photons pass through the mirror, a binary 1 is created. In case they get reflected by the mirror, a binary 0 is created. The decision on that is a pure quantum effect without any physical correlation.
Nun habe ich 4 Sätze ausgearbeitet.
For German physicist 𝗪𝗪𝗘𝗤𝗧, these quantum effects of photons were information in its purest form. If you assign an object to the informational flow of these light quantum particles, it shall then be possible to read from and write into this information field. The second method is a pure oscillation comparison. For this, the TimeWaver system uses 2 separate noise sources, in which the oscillations of a patient or an object is compared to a specific oscillation from the large database. These information are evaluated by the software and compiled into an optimization list. Also many other occupational groups such as veterinarians, agriculturists, coaches, psychologists or business people use TimeWaver in non-medical applications, as the principle to analyze certain possible disorders in the information field and to bring it back to a normal balance with appropriate new informational patterns is the same everywhere. In our TimeWaver system, elementary parts for diagnosis and therapy are consciousness and information. In practice, one can nicely display somatic as well as psychological backgrounds in the information field. I'm a building construction engineer and also a lawyer. And these were topics that made me listen up, made me curious and also skeptical. So Michael Danz came by our house with a TimeWaver and has detected things he couldn't have known, but that I could easily trace back, also about myself, my general well-being, health states. These were 100% goals, and that convinced me. All in all, I bought 3 systems. One for my business, one for me personally, and one for my wife that she uses as a naturopath.
From my perspective, it is most essential that the device suits me. I have to feel a strong connection with the system, and the TimeWaver system for me feels like my third extended arm. If I do not know any further, I use TimeWaver.
This is the strength of TimeWaver. This is where I go into it and find a multitude of correlations in the most different areas of a person's life, his environment, his family, also about what he thinks. In this way, I have to summarize many different aspects. But the red thread going along is the consciousness. It's that part that characterizes a person best as a personality. This is an essential part of it.